Hey, Matt from the A-Team here, and today we're going to go from this to this. Today on 4-Minute Film School, we're going to light like the movie The Lighthouse. Let's go. The Lighthouse is a very unique style for a movie that came out in 2019. It was shot by Jaron Blaski and was nominated for the Best Cinematography of last year's Oscars. The visual elements work together to create a very vintage aesthetic. The camera, the lenses, the production design all fit that old school look. Even the film stock was made in 1959. Not only that, but the film they were using was ASA 80. ASA and ISO pretty much mean the same thing. So that's like shooting in ISO 80, which most cameras don't even allow you to go that low. So that makes lighting like the Lighthouse a lot easier. Most of the lighting in the Lighthouse is sunlight, or made to look like sunlight. Scenes inside at night are mostly lit by practical lamps. This results in scenes with very harsh shadows and the characters in silhouette. Obviously the film's in black and white, and the aspect ratio is 1.19 to 1, so that's a good place to start. Let's take a look at this setup. So for our first setup, we're trying to emulate the same lighting style as in the movie, where they use a lot of oil lantern type lights. We don't have any oil lanterns, so we're just using a standard household bulb that you can find at any hardware store. It's creating a nice edge light around our characters. For our second setup, we actually created a book light using two 300D Mark IIs. All we're doing is pointing the 300Ds at a white background, bouncing that light onto our diffusion. And our diffusion is actually just a simple tablecloth layered on the opposite side of the set. Let's take a look at that. Okay, now on to our second setup. We actually changed the lighting pretty drastically. We introduced a 300D Mark II with a lantern attachment. The nice thing about the lantern is it's illuminating the same light that the light bulb on the table should be illuminating from our wide shot, except it's a lot closer to our talent and it's a lot softer. Now we didn't get rid of the bulb itself. We're actually using it as an edge light and as a light that casts dynamic shadows and shapes on the background. Our last light setup is a 300X set to 6500 Kelvin. Now, we actually didn't add any diffusion on the fixture itself. Our diffusion is on our set, and this is providing a nice even light in the background of our shot. It's not really doing anything for the character, it's mostly just for the background. Let's take a look. So for our third setup, we didn't really change all that much. In fact, all we really did was swap the setup. So the lantern is now on the other side of the table. We're still utilizing the 300D Mark II with a lantern attached to it. And the nice thing about this lantern is it wraps the light around the character's face, emulating the same light coming from the bulb that used to be placed on the table. Speaking of the bulb, we're still using the bulb, and again, we just swapped it over to the other side of the table. One thing we noticed though was the background was incredibly bright because of how bright the bulb is. All we did was add a layer of silk and then a single net. One thing to note is the green is actually a half stop, while if you have a red one, this is a full stop. This doesn't actually change the quality of your light, it's just changing the brightness of your light. So let's take a look at that whole scene put together. Let's review. How do you light a scene that looks like the Lighthouse? First, you want to match as many technical details as possible. This means shooting in black and white, using a low ISO, and maybe even adding digital grain in post. Second, use similar light sources. In this case, that means using practical lamps and windows for interior scenes, and natural light for exterior scenes. Lastly, boost the contrast. When shooting in black and white, contrast is king. The difference between your shadows and highlights is what is going to make each frame look amazing. Today's comment question is, what time would you set your next period piece? Maybe you want it like the Lighthouse and set it in 1890. Or maybe you want it in the 70s. Or the 20s. Comment below for a chance to win an Aputure M9. And if you like this video, consider liking and subscribing for more lighting tutorials. I've been Matt with the A-Team. Thanks for watching 4 Minute Film School, and happy shooting!